It's pretty wild how a single event can just snowball. In this case, two missiles are fired in the Indian Ocean. The test itself? A failure. But the fallout created this huge rift between two of the world's closest allies. And it all boils down to one really startling question that we really need to dig into. And here it is. Can Iran's missiles actually reach London? I mean, think about that for a second. That's the question that has Washington and London on totally different pages. So, how did we even get to a point where this is a serious debate? Well, it all circles back to one very specific number. 4,000 kilometers. That's roughly 2,500 miles, if you're wondering. But look, this isn't just some random distance on a map. It's become a huge strategic benchmark. It's the number at the absolute heart of this whole international standoff. And yeah, it all kicked off with a single test. All right, so let's get into the event that sparked this whole debate. How did this 4,000-kilometer question even come up? Well, it wasn't some big political speech or a dramatic treaty signing. Nope. It was a military exercise, one that went wrong. Or, depending on who you ask, maybe it was an exercise that revealed a truth that was supposed to stay hidden. Okay, so here's the play-by-play. Last Friday, Iran test fires two missiles. The target? A joint UK-US base on an island called Diego Garcia. And the really crucial part here, the detail that changes everything, is the distance. It's 4,000 kilometers away. Now, spoiler alert, both missiles failed. They fell short. But for the Pentagon, that didn't matter one bit. It was the attempt that sent absolute shockwaves. So, for the United States, the fact that the missiles failed was totally irrelevant. They were looking at the intent. And their logic is actually pretty simple. They're thinking, okay, if Iran is even trying to hit something 4,000 kilometers away, that must mean they think they can, right? And when you draw that 4,000-kilometer circle on a map, well, you see it doesn't just hit Diego Garcia. It also lands right on top of places like London. And just like that, this interpretation became the official U.S. line. And let me tell you, they were not subtle about it. They didn't mince words at all. Their message was super blunt, very direct, and it was aimed right at Tehran's credibility. The U.S. Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth basically called them out, framing it as a straight-up deception. See, for years, Iran has been telling the world their missile range tops at 2,000 kilometers. So Hegseth comes out and says, for years, they told the world that their missiles could only range 2,000 kilometers. Surprise! Yet again, Iran lie. I mean, that is a direct accusation that Iran's been secretly building missiles that can go way, way further. And he didn't stop there. He then made the threat crystal clear, connecting all the dots for everyone. He says, and to the world, I say London is 4,000 kilometers from Iran. So you're telling us that Iran is not a threat to the world or to the U.S.? President Trump knows better. For the White House, this changes everything. It's no longer just a regional issue. It's a direct threat to a major European ally. But, and this is a big but, that is not how London is seeing this at all. Yeah, the UK's reply was, well, let's just say it was dramatically different. While Washington was sounding the alarm bells, the tone coming from London's defense secretary was all about caution and, strategic reassurance. This right here is the key quote from John Healey, the UK's defense secretary. Now, when he was asked point blank, hey, could Iran hit London? He kind of sidestepped the whole could they question. Instead, he focused on would they. He said, we have no assessment of Iranian plans to strike London. It's such a carefully worded statement, and it just completely lets the air out of the American alarm. So the UK's position here is way more nuanced. First, they say, look, we have no intelligence that says Iran is planning to attack us. They also point out that Britain can defend itself through alliances like NATO, so they're confident. But then they add this really fascinating twist. They say that the Iranian tech and tactics look a lot like what Russia is using in Ukraine. And what does that suggest? That the hidden hand of Putin might be involved here, shifting this whole thing from just being about Iran to being a much bigger geopolitical chess match. Now, you gotta remember, this whole argument over missile ranges isn't just happening in a vacuum. It's all part of this much bigger, much more complicated diplomatic standoff. You've got both the US and Iran publicly flexing their muscles, and neither side wants to be the first to back down. Interestingly, behind the scenes, there has been an attempt to talk. The U.S. envoy confirmed that a 15-point action list was sent over to Iran, using Pakistan as the middleman. This list was basically a roadmap for a possible deal, so, a framework for peace does actually exist. But what they're saying in public? Oh man, it could not be more different. On one side, you have the US president saying Iran is begging to make a deal, not me. And on the other side, Iran's foreign minister just flat out says, we do not plan on any negotiations. So yeah, it's a total deadlock. Both sides are clearly posturing for everyone watching at home and around the world. So, where does all this leave us? It's a bit of a mess, right? You've got a major disagreement over what these missiles can even do. Diplomacy has completely stalled out, and tensions are just getting higher and higher in a really vital part of the world. So let's break down the current state of play. The US is continuing its military buildup in the region. At the same time, Iran's got its hand on the Strait of Hormuz, which is a super important route for global oil. That 15-point peace plan? Yeah, it's basically just sitting on a shelf somewhere. And that core question, what can Iran's missiles actually do, is still something these close allies can't agree on. It's a standoff with really no clear end in sight. And all of that leaves us with one final, really critical question. You've got military posturing going up and diplomacy going down. When you have a situation like this, what is it that finally breaks the standoff? Is it going to be a miscalculation, a sudden breakthrough, or something else entirely?